Why is Shaq so low?
Okay, so
He's overrated. That's why. I think people get caught up in this concept of like him being the most dominant big at the time, which is really just he was just the most physically imposing player. But when you talk about dominant, like bro, like it's not like he did things that we've never ever seen before from a statistical standpoint. No, he did not.
No. From an eye test standpoint, from an eye
Oh, from an eye test, yes, that's what I'm saying. So
please.
you're when they say dominant, they're just talking about physically imposing. But he didn't dominate the boards. He really didn't even dominate scoring unless it was like some egregiously bad center on the opposing side. Hakeem Olajuwon averaging 33 points on Shaq in the finals is better than him putting 35 points on Todd McCullough. As dominant as a scorer Shaq was, Hakeem, his highs are like 2 points under him. And also Hakeem is a better rebounder, defender as well. Hakeem had to go through a way tougher postseason run with less help. And in the process, he matched up against way better centers in the process. If you go back and you look at Shaq, especially what y'all determine winning bias, bro, every single time Shaq, not every single time, except for really one time, but Shaq used to routinely get outplayed by opposing bigs in the postseason. And even when he did win sometimes, his performances didn't look that great. And then especially against David Robinson, go back and go look at what he did against San Antonio Spurs in 99 and in 2002. He saw significant drops in both points and field goal percentage. Hakeem Olajuwon did not play with Kobe. He did not play with Wade. He did not play with Penny Hardaway. He didn't play with any of those players. And yet, for whatever reason, Hakeem Olajuwon was able to accomplish what he accomplished and is just an overall better player, more impactful. Everything being overrated is just, again, based off of what people rate you, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not necessarily saying he's bad or good. It's just that if people have him over Hakeem, I would have to ask why. And every single time, or just in general, if people have him because let's exclusively talk about Shaq. Shaq defensively is not as good as a lot of players that we have in the top 10, and he's not as impact outside of what like Magic.
And Bird, he's in the bottom 5.
He's in the bottom category. He's in the bottom part of the defense. Okay. The amount of success, Shaq wasn't really reaching extremely high levels of success until Kobe Bryant emerged as like a transcendent player himself.
He had outside of records with the Lakers, and then he went to the finals with the Magic too.
Yeah, but these are all again. It had to be somebody else had to reach.
If you count success, wait. You told me, Yoki, I don't care about accolades. So you saying you count success as him winning the championships? He won.
I know. I'm
That was a successful team with the Lakers. They had winning records, and he made it to the finals with the Atlanta.
Yeah, but I'm gauging this off of how other people would rate him. They rate him based off of these championships. They rate him based off of these numbers. They rate him. People just go off of Shaq. Shaq could have subpar first, second, third round performances, and nobody cares because they specifically go off of what he produced in the finals. And what I'm saying is, when he dominates Rick Smits or he dominates Todd McCullough, yeah, it looks great when you do that. What's more impressive is what a player like Hakeem had to do when the competition is much more stiff. It's much more impressive what Kobe had to do, especially in the second in 09 and 2010, when the competition is much more stiff. It's much more difficult to do what LeBron had to do in 2016 and other postseason runs. What Shaq did, albeit great and fantastic, but when people start putting him in top 5 conversations and you ask them why, they're immediately going to reference what he did in the finals, and you're like, oh, he dominated Todd McCullough. Why is that moving you like that? That makes no sense.
But like when I said earlier, when I attacked Jokic for going against a Golden State team that said they were Steve Kerr comes out and says they were making him a playmaker, making him a scorer and not a playmaker, and not letting him score, but not focusing on stopping him from scoring. When I talk about him going against the Portland Trail Blazers against Nurkic and Covington as their front line, you don't have that same level of disrespect for competition.
I've questioned Jokic's competition before the playoffs even began, and people thought I was crazy.
AD isn't comp.
I don't think AD was comp for Jokic.
He's not big enough. He's not big enough.
Right.
But Tyson, to answer your question, the comp is there, but I would not insert somebody in a top 5 conversation.
Okay,
because it's because they're putting him that high up, not because he's dominating them should put you in top 15 to 10 conference.
Okay.
But you dominating weak comp should not put you in top 5 conversation.
Low, how can you dock somebody for something they can't control? Like, I give you the point with the Shaq saying, like, when he had like a league competition next to me played bad, and Bonds played good. But I'm just saying, like, Jokic this run, you can't control who you play. You only can do it. You can only play who's in front of you. So I don't think it's necessarily fair to dock somebody for your competition.
It's not doxing. It's me. If the argument that the reason why Shaq is top 5 is because he dominated Todd McCullough and Rick Smits. A much better litmus test would be to see what did he look like against the Spurs when it was actual competition, and there was a noticeable regression. While on the other hand, someone like Hakeem, when he matched up against Shaq in the finals, he averaged 33. That's the other thing that blows me away. Hakeem averaged 33.
A young Shaq.
Is a young Shaq?
No, he got cooked though. He got cooked.
No, but is a young Shaq better than Todd McCullough and Rick Smits?
Oh my God! Why you just keep They don't deserve to be just criticized.
No, but that's the argument. That's the argument.
They never get their name said positively. Like Rick Smits was a good player, and I never hear him get mentioned positively.
The Dutch going to paint was pretty consistent.
Not at that stage in his career, he wasn't good. Not at that stage.
Right, that's fair.
No, but like no one talks about when Rick Smits was good. It's just when Shaq dominated him, he was a bomber.
It was a
someone praised Rick Smits.
I ain't never heard nobody defend Rick Smits.
Rick Smits was a solid big.
He was a solid big. That's a fact.
Not at that stage in his career, he wasn't. He wasn't a solid big at that.
Not before he retired, but he was a solid.
He was a solid big. He was
so low.
He was
so
definitely a good big.
So
better
low.
than solid. He was good.
Enjoy, wait,